Hello, my name is Rebecca Carlson, and I am in the Structure and Function of the Human Body class at the Rasmussen Ocala campus, and today we will be reviewing the methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase gene mutation. There are two different basic MTHFR genes. One comes from each of your parents. The purpose of these genes is to create an enzyme which works to break down amino acids, especially the folic acid. Everybody has these two genes, and we all know how important folic acid is for just human function, for our bodies to be able to function appropriately. When the genes are mutated, they are unable to perform the methylation process, which breaks down the folic acid. When the folic acid can't be broken down, it causes the homocysteine levels to rise systemically. It happens all over the body, and it prevents the proper function of the cells, organs, and the systems. As it affects all the systems, we're going to kind of go through and see, per each system, which ones are affected and generally how. For the neurological system, we obviously know that it is dependent on folic acid in development in the embryonic stages, as far as the neurons being able to transfer and accept the different chemicals, that our brain releases. Chemicals such as the serotonin, the dopamine, the tryptophan, tyrosine, amongst many, many others. So this obviously affects our neurocognitive health. The inability to process the folic acid affects embryonic development. The risks of neural tube defects is going to go up. Women are stressed to be able to consume enough folic acid to be able to create and nourish healthy fetuses, embryos, babies. And when we do this, when we do as we're instructed, and we consume all this folic acid, but then our bodies can't break it down, that's when we start having some major issues. Because not only are the babies not getting the folic acid that they need, but in turn, we're overloading our system with the folic acid that is essentially poisoning us with the homocysteine levels climbing. More of the neurocognitive effects can be the depression, ADHD, autism, bipolar, schizophrenia, and many more. There's just more and more is being learned about how widespread this mutation affects us. As far as the endocrine system, once the homocysteine levels go up, like we mentioned, it obviously creates a toxin within the bloodstream. Well, our different body parts that help to, filter out the toxins within our bodies are the liver, the kidneys, the adrenals. These end up becoming even more stressed out because they're not able to do what they're made to do. Elevated homocysteine levels affect the reproductive and cardiovascular system. We already kind of went over the reproductive on the development portion as far as the embryos. With the homocysteine levels being high, it increases the hyperlipidemia within the blood. When this happens, the cardiovascular accidents, the risk becomes higher, stroke, heart attack, etc. This also causes developing vascular abnormalities within the placenta, so placental abruption, miscarriages because of both birth defects as well as placental issues, and stillbirth. These risks are all going to go higher. hormonal birth control for women is already putting women at an increased risk of stroke, of heart attack. That's very plainly stated in the pamphlet that you receive from your provider, from your doctor, whoever it is that you see. When you have this mutation, it increases it even higher than that. It is highly, highly, highly recommended that women with this mutation do not take hormonal birth control. And in my research on this, later on in the slides, we'll see how metals affect, the metals build up as well, and they poison the body because our body is obviously already having a hard time filtering out toxins. So even birth control options such as IUDs really need to be watched. Your copper levels have to be really watched. There's a lot of risks. The muscular and digestive systems are affected. We've already kind of gone over how the nerves are affected by this mutation. Well, muscles are controlled by nerves. So when obviously these levels get too high, the muscles can't function properly. The smooth muscles in the digestive tract, they're not able to absorb the nutrients. So you're now going into an increased risk of anemia. Constipation and diarrhea are also common complaints. Irritable bowel syndrome and gastroesophageal reflux disease, also known as GERD. These are very common diagnoses. And looking in the different researches, because it's impeding on the normal function of the body and the normal function of the digestive system, in turn, it also increases the risk of the esophageal, gastric, and colon cancers. Scary stuff. The integumentary system is affected. We know that our skin is the first step in preventing infection, in creating and continuing a level of homeostasis. When it's not able to filter, when our bodies can't filter, it affects everything. The skin can be more prone to developing eczema or candida, which is also yeast infections. Good ways to be able to help reduce the different risks involving the skin, though, which is really awesome, is to be able to use saunas. Use your body's ability to release toxins through our skin by sweating. Saunas, Epsom bath salts, Epsom salt bath, exercise. These are great ways to be able to get that toxin out of our system without having to stress out our body where it can't digest it. So it's getting rid of it in the next best way. As we were just talking about, the treatment options with this defect, with this mutation, is going to be the biggest thing is going to be getting rid of the folic acid. This can be kind of hard because since '95, FDA mandated that all the flours, which means breads and pastas, be fortified with it. Their reasoning was because of all of the neural tube defects that were affecting so many babies at that point. Great reason. It's so important. Unless you can't process it, then it can be very detrimental. So you want to get rid of the processed version, the synthetic version of folate, which is folic acid, and instead go ahead and shift over to the natural folate using dark leafy greens. There's lots of different ways to naturally consume folate. Taking a methylfolate vitamin, that's a wonderful way to be able to get that folate that your body definitely needs, but it's now consumable. Getting rid of foods that are toxic, such as gluten and dairy. This is hard. We are so used to eating gluten and dairy, as well as obviously just regular breads, flours, pastas, which has gluten in it. But these are big changes, but they're really, really important. In reducing and eliminating as much as possible exposures to cleaners, pesticides, metals, like we mentioned earlier with the IUDs, preservatives, medications. Find out what your body is able to work with. There's different genetic tests that can tell you, you can take heparin, but you can't take, Lovenox. There's different medications that may be more or less compatible for your body. And watch vaccines. Everybody has their own opinions about vaccines, benefits, risks, but especially for people that can't filter out the toxins, be wary of them. Be careful. And really just like anything else, really do your research and really make an informed decision on any of this stuff as far as risk and benefit for you. Prognosis. Obviously this is very systemically a huge issue for a lot of people. I believe, I don't have the exact statistics in front of me, so just bear with me, but I want to say that it affects roughly 60% of the population. That's a lot of people that this is affecting. So, it has a lot of risks, but if you make these changes and you stick to them long term, then you can't change your genetics, but you can make your genetics work better for you. And don't get discouraged. I know that everybody has this whole preconceived notion that gluten-free foods are nasty and they taste like cardboard. You need to just don't listen to the people. Discover what works for you. Overcooking your pasta, it tastes the same. So just try things. Just experiment. Be willing to throw things out because some things don't taste good. But you'll learn about things that you never knew that were there that taste amazing. And that is it for our show today. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.